Andy Nowicki, altrightnovelist.com. Well, I never would have thought when I decided to go to Charlottesville to record the events that would take place at the Unite the Right rally that I thought was going to happen. And instead, chaos and all hell broke loose, and 3 people ended up dying, and that it would become this nationwide, worldwide event, this rallying cry for the left, never again. I absolutely never thought that would happen, but then I didn't know that the tiki torch thing was happening either. I wasn't really in on you know, all the details of how it was all going to unfold. I can see why the tiki torch thing was viewed as provocative. I liked it aesthetically. It was certainly easily misunderstood. I didn't care for the blood and soil and Jews will not replace us chants, but you know, that wasn't up to me. I was in general in favor of the event as a way of rallying behind traditionalism and Robert E. Lee as a symbol of a culture, you know, symbolizing the virtues of the Old South, and how this unthinking idea of this really unthinking iconoclasm, whereby any remnant of traditionalism, of dead white men, just needed to be bulldozed without any real thought, except that, you know, well, they were racist, blah, blah, blah. Just this very shallow kind of thinking. I was opposed to that. I still am opposed to that. And in that sense, I was very much in favor of the Unite the Right event as far as what it stood for, or certain things that it stood for. But again, I never would have predicted that it would have all the consequences that it did. And those consequences, as I've expressed before, have applied to me personally. They've had, you know, certain effects on my relationships with others, with friends, with family. The fact that I was even there has been a sticking point for many. And then also, it blew my mind, it still does blow my mind, that President Trump afterwards making the simple observation that, well, there were people there who were good on both sides, and not everybody was there to cause trouble, and, you know, once you decide to knock down one statue, where's it all going to stop? That him making this simple, reasonable statement, and I'm not a President Trump toady by any means. I don't think you've ever heard me, or you would rarely hear me just praising him to the hilt, the way that some people might who are politically on the right. I'm not prone to do that. I'm not a I don't know. I try to transcend, to the best of my ability, this tendency to just be rah-rah about whoever is the least bad option out there, and you know, who might more closely represent your side for, you know, for reasons however impure. But I did very much think that he was on the money with those comments about Charlottesville, and it just absolutely floors me that people can be so rhetorically dishonest as to see it in any other way, as to see, oh, well, he's standing up for white supremacists. No, he wasn't standing up for white supremacists, you dolts. He was not doing that at all. There was nothing in what he said. Oh, well, then it was a dog whistle. Okay, I mean, I can't really argue with that. If you're going to say what he really meant was blah, 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 I mean, I throw up my hands there. I'm just talking about what he actually said. And in what he actually said, there was nothing irresponsible. In fact, it was one of the more responsible things that I heard anybody say from mainstream politics concerning the event. So why am I talking about this now? Well, there continues to be ramifications for the Charlottesville debacle of August 12th of last year, the aborted Unite the Right rally, in which the local authorities connived with state authorities to shut down free speech, to shut down an event that was permitted, that should have been allowed to go forward if the rule of law meant anything, but it was instead shut down, and the people there were put in danger with the active, I'm convinced, the active connivance of the agents of the state who wished for there to be harm done to human lives and to human safety, to human, who wished for, I think, chaos to happen, for deaths and injury to happen, which did. So, all of that said, now, recently, we've got the Cannes Film Festival happening, and apparently this irrelevant midget, Spike Lee, has decided to chime in and talk about how angry he is at President Trump, who he won't even mention by name. He says, I'm not even going to say his name. We've got someone in the White House. I'm not even going to say his name. You can look up his comments elsewhere. But Spike says that what happened in Charlottesville, what happened to Heather Heyer in Charlottesville, well, I don't think he said anything directly about the event itself, what it was supposed to be, what it became, whose fault it was that it became what it became. But in omitting to pay attention to these things, omitting to pay attention to the fact that it was a peacefully planned rally event to be attended by people who did not intend to start violence. Some of them were ready to defend themselves, but the violence was all initiated by Antifa. Of course, that Spike didn't say anything at all about any of that, but instead basically presumed what most unthinking people, I was going to say unthinking liberals or leftists, but I think just the general population who aren't terribly well informed, but who think they are, but who just, read the Washington Post and the New York Times and listen to NPR and other Lügenpresse outlets and just think that they know what's really going on. Anyway, Spike represented it as if this were what happened to Heather Heyer was just some kind of spastic lashing out that did not have any kind of didn't arise out of any particular context, with violent Antifa going around beating on cars, spraying mace and worse into people's faces, putting people's lives in danger, attacking people left and right, throwing bottles filled with cement, throwing bottles filled with piss, all these kinds of things. None of that context was given in Spike's commentary on what happened to Heather Heyer, of course. But in any case, what struck me about Spike's comments at the Cannes Film Festival, and he talked about all of this because it seems that the irrelevant midget Spike Lee, it's not the 80s anymore, Spike. Nobody cares. But he's got a new movie coming out, and his new movie is I don't know. It's about a black guy who goes undercover with the Klan. It's supposed to be based on a true story in some way or other. I saw the preview. It looked, mildly interesting, but apparently Spike had some sequence with the closing credits, which, I mean, it seems to be the affliction of filmmakers who want to be politically relevant, like Spike Lee or Oliver Stone. And I've kind of mellowed on Oliver Stone lately compared to where I was 10 years ago. Because I think he was right. He has been right in some ways in his critique of things that I maybe wasn't as, my eyes weren't as open about before. But in general, this kind of obnoxious, heavy-handed, in-your-face, bulldoze you, hit you in the face with a jackhammer tendency to push their message at you. And so Spike Lee has something that he's doing now in the closing credits of his movie where he includes the Heather Heyer incident, the violence that took place in Charlottesville after James Field's car was very likely attacked and knocked on by with baseball bats by violent Antifa, and then he accelerated into a crowd, and this led in some way to the death of Heather Heyer. He chose to use that footage and then to use footage of Trump saying what he said afterwards in a way, boo hiss kind of way, to sort of hit the reflexive hate this, boo this man, boo this moment kind of note, which to me is just that's just poor filmmaking. That's just obnoxious and crass filmmaking on every level. I think Spike Lee has some talent. I've even enjoyed a couple of his movies. They're all prone to certain aesthetic problems, but I'm not saying the man has no talent, but I do think that he is an irrelevant midget. And so what strikes me about all this is this isn't just a rant, this isn't just me going on about how much I hate what Spike Lee had to say, but it's the whole context of it. Spike is speaking these words from the Cannes Film Festival, or Cannes Film Festival. I guess the snobs will correct me there. Okay, among the glitterati, among the rich and famous, he's coming forth with this scathing critique. And his scathing critique is supposed to indict the powerful. He's not speaking from a place of, the ordinary folk, what he claims to be, what he presumes to be doing. He's speaking from the point of view of the elite. He's representing the elite and the deep state and, whatever you want to call them, whatever label you want to give them. Just the neoliberal, way of thinking. He's just expressing that in his own words. And there's nothing, it's supposed to be all controversial, and it's supposed to be all like, ooh, wow, look at this guy. He doesn't even care. He's going to say what he thinks. He's going to say exactly what's on his mind. And exactly what's on his mind is exactly what is the very ideas that are coming forth from every major news outlet and every major movie producer and every major mover and shaker within the culture. Everybody who runs the culture is saying the same damn things that Spike Lee is saying. And it's all based in ignorance. Yes, or worse than ignorance. Maybe he knows. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt and just presume that he doesn't know the truth. Just presume that he bought the mainline depiction of Charlottesville hook, line, and sinker, and didn't think about it very much, and that's what he's coming forward with. That's what he's talking about here. So that's better than or that's giving him more credit than presuming that he does know and is choosing to represent things dishonestly. But in any case, what are you talking about, Spike? What you talking about, Spike? From the sunny beaches of Cannes, of the Cannes Film Festival, among your rich and powerful and well-dressed and beautiful friends. What are you doing there, speaking from these heights and claiming to be representing the common man, and claiming to be representing the underdog, and claiming to be representing the put upon, and those who are in danger, those who are marginalized in our culture. You don't have a fucking clue, you midget, you irrelevant midget. So shut the fuck up, Spike Lee. That's what I have to say. Andy Nowicki, altrightnovelist.com.